Welcome to the CEO Tech Talks podcast, where vision meets impact. I am your host, Ambreen Ahmed. Each episode, I sit down with exceptional leaders who are shaping the future of business, technology, and transformation. This show is about more than just success. It's about clarity, purpose, and those bold decisions that light the way forward. Join me as we uncover the insights, challenges, and breakthroughs from today's most inspiring voices. Leaders who are redefining what it means to lead in a rapidly changing world. This is CEO Tech Talks. Let's dive in. Today, we're joined by Diane Windingland, communication strategist and executive presence expert. Diane helps leaders overcome speaking anxiety and present with clarity and confidence in high-stakes moments. Welcome, Diane. Thank you for joining.
Well, thank you, Amberine. I'm glad to be here today.
Well, let's get into it. Tell us about yourself and your role and your business.
Well, great. My business is a virtual speech coach, and I coach and train leaders and technical professionals to speak with greater clarity and confidence. I don't know what else you want to know about myself. I've been doing this for about 12 years. I'm also the author of several books on Amazon related to communication skills, and I'm very involved with Toastmasters as well.
That's amazing. How did you get started in this field?
Well, I actually have a degree as an engineer and was an engineer for a few years, then a stay-at-home mom, and then we bought a business in 2007, which was reselling IT equipment. It was a terrible time to buy a business. The person who sold it to us got very lucky because everything went downhill after that with the recession. And in 2009, I was looking for ways to make extra money. I had 3 kids at home and our business wasn't doing well. We were going to be declaring bankruptcy. So I interviewed for a position speaking to high school students as a lead generator for a business college. And that got me thinking that maybe I would prefer speaking with and working with adults. Love the teens, but I thought, you know what? I think I might like adults even more. And I was also in Toastmasters at the time. So I had been working on public speaking. I'd had a few people ask me to coach them on their speeches. So I thought, maybe I could make this into a business.
Wow, I'm so glad I asked you. That's so fascinating. Engineer to businesswoman to executive coaching. These are the type of stories we want to hear from people, just how you can shift in the market with a different background.
Right. I even shifted my speaking business. I originally started out speaking on networking and conversation skills. And I realized that that wasn't actually the best target market for connecting with people who would pay me for my services. I mostly was talking to networking groups, and I realized that I could get more income working with executive technical professionals and others on public speaking or communication skills.
Okay, so who's your ideal client?
Well, my ideal client would be someone in a technical or financial field who is typically a rising leader, but I often work with CEOs as well, who is being blocked perhaps because their communication skills are keeping them from reaching that next level. And usually it is a matter of confidence and clarity. Usually they have the third C, which is competence, but they're unable to be clear, first of all, in their own minds about what their message is, and then translating that message with clarity can be a challenge.
Wow. I think a lot of us can relate to that growing in our careers. Just what goes on up here and what comes out sometimes are two different things.
Right.
So what does a typical day look like for you?
A typical day is probably not typical, but I do this part-time. I do not coach full-time. That wouldn't be fun if I were coaching 40 hours a week. I have done that. I did some coaching for a high school once where I was meeting with students, 3 students an hour in 15-minute sessions with 5 minutes in between, and that was a bit much to have back-to-back coaching. So typically, I have a few coaching sessions a day, anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5. Most are half an hour long. Some are longer, depending on what the person's needs are. And the coaching would be anything from job interview skills to executive presence to presentations for board meetings or clients. And I use, for example, an AI tool called Udly to also augment my coaching so people can see feedback right away, as well as how they're doing on things like pace and filler words. And then, of course, there's all the support stuff you have to do when you own a business.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the CRM, where I have attachments of emails and upcoming tasks and the follow up, which is really critical to be able to not have to remember everything, but to have the CRM tool remind me, oh, I have to follow up with that person, or oh, did that person pay me yet? That kind of thing. I also do a fair amount of writing with blog posts, books. My latest book, if I can show you, is The Clarity Code: How to Communicate Complex Ideas with Simplicity and Power. So I've published about 12 or 13 books on Amazon. Most are pretty short.
What was the title of the book again? The Clarity Code?
This one is The Clarity Code: How to Communicate Complex Ideas with Simplicity and Power. That was just published in November. And the target audience for that really would be technical professionals, people who have to communicate either with non peers who maybe don't have the same level of knowledge as them, which
Mm-hmm.
could be also talking with executives or clients.
Okay. So, what industry trends are you seeing right now in your business, and how is it impacting your business strategy?
Well, the biggest trend, as I'm sure many people will say, is AI, artificial intelligence. It is an accelerator, it is a complicator, and people are expected, if you don't use AI to make your business more effective, to communicate better, you will fall behind quickly because your competitors are. So that in my own business, I remember I first used ChatGPT back, I think, in February. Well, it was a few months after it first came out. So I'm thinking it was February of 23. And I used it for a silly purpose. I wanted to write a Valentine's poem for my husband. And I just gave it a little bit of information. It had to deal with scuba diving. I was so impressed with what it did that I thought, wonder if I could use this for my business.
Okay.
And I primarily use ChatGPT for developing coaching programs, for writing proposals, crafting emails, even non-business uses like that Valentine's poem or the difficult text to a relative where you don't really know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I've used it to help me write books, blog posts, script YouTube videos, all sorts of things so much more quickly. And often you can't take it at face value because sometimes it will give you things that are a little bit off and it can even be wrong to some extent. I remember I said, write a bio about me. Now it does a good job. But when I first did it, it
Mm-hmm.
made stuff up. It thought I had a doctorate. I'm like, no. So it's much better now.
Okay, I know it's evolving, and of course they have a disclaimer that they can make mistakes, right?
Right, right.
So you mentioned you do this part time. What do you do the other time?
The other times I am a grandma. So usually one day a week, I go and hang out with one of my grandkids, spend time with my daughter who lives locally. I do the basic household stuff like grocery shopping, although I do curbside pickup, so it doesn't take that long. I like making healthy foods. I probably eat a little too much. exercise, taking walks, spending time with my husband. We usually watch a television show at night. I would like to say I kind of feel like I'm a business person who works part-time. I was inspired years ago by the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. It was Tim Ferriss, is that the author, I believe? So I thought, you know what? You don't have to spend 40 hours a week to be productive. You can spend less and get more out of it than having to just be busy. I also spend a fair amount of time on Toastmasters too.
So, how do you typically attract new clients?
Typically, there's just a couple of ways. One way is they find my website and I have a coaching page. I have my prices right on my page because I know how annoying that is to look at a coaching package or a coaching program and you're wondering, how much is that? Oh, I have to make a consult in order to know how much it is. So I just put the prices right on my website. And one of the best things about that is the people who contact me, there's no surprise in what I charge. So if what I charge is more than they want to spend, they don't bother contacting me. So I have a pretty high close rate when someone sets up a consultation. I just have to show that they're going to get value, make sure we're a good fit, and we're good to go. One of the other things I forgot to mention with AI is I also use a component in my coaching called Udly. Udly is an AI coaching tool that you can record yourself or a client speaking or doing a role play, and you get a transcript, automatic feedback on things like pace and filler words as well.
Okay, that's interesting. So, what's working well for you right now and what's been frustrating?
What's working well is, and it's been working well for a long time, is the approach I have for clients once they book a consultation, where it's a very standard discovery phone call in some respects, where you talk about, what was the trigger for them contacting you and what the challenges are, what they've already tried, what kind of feedback they've gotten. So there's that part. And then I can demonstrate how I coach and also the Udly tool. So I do a little demonstration of coaching. And then it's usually just a conversation about, based on what they told me, this is the coaching package I would recommend for them.
Mhm.
And so that has been going well. I would say, although I probably could have a few more clients, and I do absolutely no advertising. I don't buy Google ads. I have a newsletter that's, maybe got 800 people subscribed. I have a few YouTube videos. I am not very consistent in uploading YouTube videos. It's more like, oh, let's do this. And I also have a blog and occasional other ways people find out about me. I also have referrals from happy clients who have referred me to other people who've expressed a need.
Mhm.
So basically, it's people who find me and people who are referred to me.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. What metric are you most focused on improving in your business?
The metric I'm most focused on improving would be my sales in terms of having a few more clients. Also, I occasionally raise my prices or I provide new offerings
Hmm.
which are a higher rate of pay than just an hourly rate where it's more of a package.
Okay.
The number of clients is probably the biggest metric, but aside from that, value, like getting a corporate client that has a few people that need coaching, not just a one-off.
Hmm.
That getting more of those would be a metric as well.
Okay. If you could solve one major challenge in your business and the industry, what would that be?
One major challenge. That's a tough question. I would say I've experienced this with other coaches that I use a scheduling tool. And I thought most coaches used a scheduling tool, but as it turns out, I just talked to a coach today
Mm-hmm.
who asked me about my scheduling tool because she had scheduled some time with me, said it saves so much time if you use a scheduling tool. You don't have to have the back and forth emails.
Right.
So for the coaches that don't use a scheduling tool, I would say that is something most people now expect, and it can save you a lot of time.
The booking links you're talking about are Calendly, things
Right.
like that.
Calendly, I use Doodle, just happen to have used it for a long time, and it automatically includes my Zoom link. That just works very slickly. I mean, prior to using a scheduling tool, which was a long time ago, all those back and forth emails. And so I also think the issue of clarity in terms of who your target audience is. To You could try to say you're going to be a coach for anyone, but as you probably know, anyone is very vague.
Yes.
And if you can niche down, you can focus more and be more known within a particular niche. I've even noticed that with my books. My biggest seller was a book I wrote in 2012 called Speech Class for Teens. And just this last year, I made a revised version of it because when I wrote it because I was teaching a speech class for teens and I didn't want to make 20 binders. So I thought by having a book on Amazon, I could just order 20 books and I wouldn't have to make all the binders. And apparently, there was a need for either homeschool or other schools that wanted a book like that, and I had been surprised. It was a very niche book, and that niche happened to hit a need that was unaddressed or underaddressed, I should say. I would say that for a lot of coaches in particular, if you can focus in on a big enough target audience
Mm-hmm.
that you can be well versed in what they need and how you relate to them, that would be to your advantage. I have a friend, for example, she's also a coach of communication skills, and she would never coach people that have a technical background because she would not relate to them.
Okay.
She focuses more on new managers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, and there's other groups that I thought, okay, some groups I might not relate as well to, although I have had people in the healthcare industry. I don't have a healthcare background. So it's more the technical fields. For some reason, I attract financial people too, even though I don't really have a financial background. So, yeah, have a target niche that you can focus on would probably be a big area.
So where do you hope your business to be 6 to 12 months from now?
Well, in 6 to 12 months, I would like to have more corporate clients where I have multi people on an engagement,
Okay.
where it's not, I love working just with the onesies that come along, but to be able to have a team to work with, I would like to increase that, probably double that between now and in the next 6 to 12 months.
Wow, that's great. That's a good goal. That's a big goal to have. And I definitely hope you achieve it. As we wrap up here, is there a call to action you'd like to share and how to get in touch with you for those listening?
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Diane Windingland. You can find me on my website, virtualspeechcoach.com. And if you want to speak with greater confidence and greater clarity, go ahead and book that free consultation.
Well, thank you for joining and all of your insights, Diane. This has truly been a special conversation. And take care, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Well, thank you, Umberine.
Thank you for joining CEO Tech Talks. I hope today's conversation sparked new insights and inspiration for your own leadership journey. Until next time, stay inspired, stay visionary, and keep leading with light. Brought to you by Neura AI Consulting.